enough light?
Do you want more light?
To me, this is good, but not for the video.
Oh, that's fine.
That's when we'll know that we really know Pali, right? We'll be able to play around and be able to make up new words that make sense and stuff.
Did you just make up a word?
Yeah. Anomaly.
What language is that?
Davidism.
Paganism. Davidism. So back to Sakludaya Sutta, did you have we did the other name of that sutta, now it came to my mind, Metta Sahagata Sutta. That's a Pali that came translated as accompanied by loving kindness. So the same name for the Halidavasana Sutta. Halidavasana is where it was taught. Another name for it is Metta Sahagata. Sahagata means accompanied by. Metta, loving kindness. That's what the name I was trying to recall. So, in it, as you read here, so here you saw the beginning of the sutra as 61, accompanied by loving kindness. Oops. 1609. Yeah. And then we were at so if you were to read liberation of the mind by equanimity developed, and maybe that's like the end of the four Brahma Viharas. And what does it have? Its destination, its culmination, its fruit, its final goal. And then the same thing. Here a monk develops the enlightenment factor of mindfulness accompanied by equanimity. Then enlightenment factor of equanimity accompanied by equanimity based upon seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. If he wishes, may I dwell, perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive. He dwells, perceiving the repulsive therein. So David's cockroach thing works here. He just shared with me that when you wanted to tell that to the group, so.
Yeah, when Renee was really little, we were in an apartment at the time. We'd often go downstairs to the laundry room, do laundry together. We came down one night and I said, "Oh, baby cockroaches." And she says, "Oh, so cute, so cute." And I said to myself, "Oh, yeah, sure, okay."
So the babies do have a mind that is not spoiled by adults' notions of beauty and ugliness. They see everything as beauty. So developing bodhicitta involves developing baby mind. Baby citta. May I dwell perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive. He dwells perceiving the repulsive therein if he wishes, avoiding both the repulsive, and it goes on like that. And at the end it says, monks, for he enters and dwells in the base of nothingness. And then the liberation of mind by equanimity has the base of nothingness as its culmination. I say, for a wise bhikkhu here who has not penetrated to a superior liberation. So what is superior than this is neither perception nor non-perception. And what is superior than that is cessation, nirodha, final cessation. And why do you know those? Because you are noble disciples who have heard the teachings. You are not noble disciples who have not heard the teachings. So there were people who developed to the level of neither perception and non-perception before the Buddha. But they did that, they never went beyond. It was the Buddha who discovered that these things are also perceptions and they are that way subject to impermanence. And he saw the danger that if one develops sharp mental skills to reach to those levels, and there is a high chance that that person gets stuck there, not knowing how to free their mind from that stage. And what happened to the two previous teachers of the Buddha who taught how to reach to those levels, to these last two levels, that they are in mind-only existence, where the Buddha cannot reach physically, even being the Buddha. Although after awakening the Buddha wanted to teach them, they were looking for, like, okay, now I have gone beyond what they have taught me and let me now go find them. You find that story in a Noble Quest, Arya Pariyesana Sutta. That's another sutra to read. I think put the title down there, so your knowledge, that will be an interesting sutra to read.
Should we just read all the sutras?
Gotta get started.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to read them all?
Well, in Winnipeg, I met a monk who has memorized whole Samyutta Nikaya and Anguttara Nikaya. This monk had addictions in his life before he became a monk. He needed some substances for 24 hours, and without which he was at the point of cutting his skin and all that. And he said the only escape for him was to become a monk. And as soon as he did that, he started having strong dark chocolate and, strong coffee and dark chocolate. Not strong dark chocolate is strong enough. And I saw him still having about 4 dark chocolates a day. He's such a pleasant monk and not grumpy type, but the discussion started because we were given a place to stay and their monks didn't have internet, so monks went to the other house where they had internet. And he said, that's not my addiction. I used to be addicted to substances, and Buddha saved me, that he had the freedom to become a monk, and ever since he never had any substances. So I said, you should write a book about that. People want to know that it's possible, because my friend is working in with people who have substance abuse, and they are always trying to find a way to help these people. But monks like that could be an inspiration for some young people coming from wealthy families, but still somehow got into using these. And I think in American education, now in Michigan they are banning some colored cigarettes, I think, or
Flavored diesel.
flavored ones. Yeah. So that's a good step forward, and young generation get trapped in this. Has drastic, dangerous consequences. So also in Sri Lanka, so it's universal. Just because it's a Buddhist country, but it's a mafia. It's like lots of politicians involved in drug trafficking. So noble search. Noble means Arya. Search means Pariyesana. think number, this is from Majjhima Nikaya. I'm not sure if it is 43, I will find out. Let's see, we'll Google it right away so you find it. No, it's Majjhima Nikaya 26, I'm sorry. Forty-three is Vedanta Sutras, I think. 26. Middle Length Discourses, 26. In that you find the story of Buddha leaving the palace and his noble search and how he entered into the business of becoming Buddha. You put it that way. I think I did, not sure if I talk about that sutra in my YouTube channel. In Michigan I do sutra discussions. So, and these are the sutras I have done. Sutras and different talks. So here's the sutra of Chula Vedala Sutra and Karanimita Sutra, loving kindness. I think it's just a chanting, group chanting. Mangala. So this is Mahachattarika Sutra, the great 40. Nibbedika Sutta, the penetrative. Gilana Sutta, when the Buddha was ill, that taught. The Phena Pindugama Sutta, a lump of forms. Or Makkata, the monkey Sutta. Devaduta Sutta, I'm not sure if I have Ari Paris in here. Kakachupama Sutta, Kachana Bhattekarata Sutta, Angulimala Sutta. Singalo Adi Sutta, so Mahavedala. Many sutras. I think I had Honey Bowl Sutra. See if I can find that. No, I have not. I have done it but not recorded it and uploaded here. So this is the channel if you want to find. Well, I can. If you give me consent, I can add you to our mailing list. When we do a sutra, you will get an email, and so I send some content before I do it. And we used to be able to, yeah.
Yeah, we look here when we subscribe. Will that be the same thing?
No, I wasn't going to subscribe to myself, but I was just showing the name of the channel for those who are interested in.
If you have a YouTube channel, you can subscribe.
Yeah, if you have a YouTube channel, you can subscribe. For live streaming, I need 1,000 subscribers, and sometimes people pay for some people to get 1,000 subscribers. Now YouTube has that rule. But before that, we used to be able to live stream without having 1,000 subscribers. So, yeah, that's a struggle. But I just upload them there for people to see. Okay, so that's Noble Search, and we are back in this place. So we went in that direction because we were talking about the Blessed One takes little food. He speaks in praise of taking little food and contented with any kind of robe, and speaks in praise of contentment, and then any kind of alms food, and speaks in praise of contentment with any kind of alms food. This is Sakuludai saying, so let's read from here, number 4. Furthermore, Bhante, the Blessed One is contented with any kind of lodging, and speaks in praise of contentment with any kind of lodging. Furthermore, Bhante, the Blessed One is solitary and speaks in praise of solitude. Bhante, that the Blessed One is solitary and speaks in praise of solitude. This Bhante is the fifth quality that I see in the Blessed One. On account of which the Blessed One's disciples revere, respect, esteem, honor him, and having honored and respected the Blessed One, they dwell in dependence on him. These Bhante are the 5 qualities that I see in you. Okay, so let's move on. Then the Buddha's response to him. Suppose Udai, so he is addressed as Udai. The Buddha's full instruction, Sakuludai, begins here and continues right to the end of the sutta at 61. So he is quoting from Sutta 61. Sometimes that's what he does. So we need to then find Sutta 61 and find what the Buddha said sometimes. Hopefully, let's see. So Sakuludai, Sakulu Udai, Udai is part of his name, so the Buddha is addressing him as Udai. And then the Buddha says, this is what he says. Although these people praise me for little food and speaks in praise of taking little food, he says, but Udai, there are disciples of mine who take only a cupful or only half a cup or a bilva fruit or half a bilva fruit. Just
how big is the fruit?
this big, like an apple, size an apple. It's hard shelled, like wood apple. Let me show you. So I brought the flower of it because it's medicinal. See this?
Oh, okay, so seeds in it, yeah.
That. This one. Oops, yeah. We have it at home. It's like persimmon but not sweet, not that sweet. But it has a gummy-like thing in here. It's messy when you try to eat that. The wood apple is very similar. This is wood apple, but tastes better. No, that. So we have like this is a wood apple tree. It's grown in Asia. I don't think they are grown here. So they make a juice. They add coconut milk with it. It's very tasty.
Yeah, wood apple jam in.
Yeah, you have wood apple jam here, I think.
Right now there's wood apple jam in Global Foods if anyone wants to try.
Okay. It's this. Sometimes this is sweet, sometimes it's sour. So you have to have some luck to find the sweet kind. It's like tamarind, tamarind has sweet tamarind, and that's grown in Thailand and places like that. So, you know what tamarind is?
I know what tamarind
That's
that
name
one I
too.
know, yeah.
That's
We have the sour tamarind in Sri Lanka. So,
We have some here, the dry one.
dry ones, sweet ones or the sour? Sweet one, yeah.
Looks like a soybean
I brought
or
that
peanut.
It's from
They're
Thailand.
bigger than that.
from Myanmar.
They're
They
bigger
grow
than
in Myanmar, they're all the same land.
soybean part.
So we grew up, like I grew up with this. Whole tree has these, like that.
Yeah.
You eat it like edamame,
What's edamame?
soybeans.
The green soybean.
Yeah, similar.
It's similar.
Yeah.
Really?
No, the-
No, this is a tree.
You know, I saw something with
It just
pods
looks
like
similar
that
to
in
a
Texas, but I don't think it was.
It's a
Cameron.
tree
I
that,
wonder if it was
that's big.
Related, you know.
You just eat out of the pod, right? You just eat what's in the pod. You don't eat the
Yeah. You don't eat the skin of it. It's dry.
Yeah.
You eat the inside. So this, they made a drink of this, see?
Tamarind margaritas
Yeah.
with 2 stars.
Yeah.
Don't recommend.
Oh, I thought you were making it up.
So let me show you a tamarind tree. Look, this is one. This one. Yes.
Quite a
big.
good sized tree.
So my sister, we had a swing. So elephants go under and want to sit, you know. So we had elephants. We lived in an elephant-infested area in Sri Lanka for 13 years of our lives. It's very dangerous. Like rhinos in Nepal, they attack you. And they like to come here and just have a chat. But our house is about 50 feet from that. Very close, so at night we don't want to go out thinking that they are there.
Elephants?
Yeah,
Elephants
elephants.
trying to steal your swing.
Yeah, they come and they try to sneak to the kitchen and get salt. And when they eat salt, they want to go to the river for water. They feel thirsty.
Yeah.
Or if they find rice, they are happy. This is a tamarind tree, very big. This is a whole lot. So yeah, you need to come to Sri Lanka.
Try the tamarind.
I try the wooden apple.
You will try the wood apple.
So neat.
Have you had pawpaw?
Well, when
fruits?
elephants eat this, so
Constipated?
they just swallow it, and once so then the whole there is a way they absorb the thing inside, and the skin is all left just like the whole fruit. So
Magic.
their digestive system is that good. Anyway, so the Buddha saying, this is very humble of the Buddha to say that, right? That my students do even more. But I, Uday, sometimes eat a bowl filled to the brim, or even more. This is the Buddha saying that. So if Uday, on account of the fact that the recluse Gautama takes little food and speaks in praise of taking little food, my disciples go to revere, respect, esteem, honor me. And having honored and respected me and dwell in dependence on me. So this is like me saying, one time there was a picture in Facebook, Twitter, people praising a Western monk in Sri Lanka walking barefoot. And I used to think, okay, if he's to be respected because he walks barefoot, my brother-in-law should be respected because he doesn't wear any slippers or anything. So, isn't that interesting to think about these things? It's not in what you see, it's what you have cultivated in your mind that is worthy of respect. That's the point I was trying to make. And this is an example of the Buddha speaking the same way. But then those disciples who take only cupful, or only half a cup, or a bilva fruit, or half a bilva fruit should not revere, respect, esteem, honor me. And having neither honored nor respected me, they should not dwell in dependence on me. Suppose to die on account of the fact that the recluse Gautama what is he saying not to respect for that? What did you get from this part?
It's no big deal.
Yes, he's saying that's no big deal, right? Suppose to die on account of the fact that the recluse Gautama is contented with any kind of robe and speaks in praise of contentment with any kind of robe, my disciples go to revere. Same thing, right? The recluse Gautama is content with any kind of alms food. There are disciples of mine who are alms food eaters, who walk the unbroken arms round from house to house, who delight in the... So unbroken means when you go to a wealthy house to a poor house, it doesn't matter, you stand there until something is offered. You don't skip the house because it's poor. So unbroken arms round. Or because it's low caste, or because it's something. who delight in the rounds of food gleanings. What does that mean?
To get food clean, to kill.
Okay. Having entered arms amongst houses and inhabited area, they will not consent to sitting down, even when invited. So, well, at the time there were extreme disciples of the Buddha. Like they went like they became under tree dwellers. The Buddha was even little bit modest there. He accepted monasteries when they were offered. So,
With gleaning, that was there used to be a practice of gleaning that I'm familiar with. That was the fields. Once the crops had been harvested, there were a few things that were maybe dropped, and people would be allowed
to take that.
to go in there and clean that up and take it for themselves.
Good. So it could be that. Yeah. So the recluse Gautama is contented with any kind of lodging, but there are disciples of mine who are tree-foot dwellers, open-air dwellers, who are without roof for 8 months of the year. So that's amazing, they do that. And the recluse Gautama is solitary and speaks in praise of solitude. Same thing, like my disciples were to revere, respect, esteem, honor. But who are foot dwellers, dwelling in remote lodgings, who live secluded in remote jungle thickets, entering the midst of the Sangha only every half month for the recitation of the Patimokkha. So they just, I think these monks were also the ones who didn't want to have so many rules in their mind. That's a burden. They just decided, okay, let me go in the forest and nobody's judging me. There's nobody telling me this way to behave or that way to behave. Let me find a simpler lifestyle. So they decided to, because when we live in a place like this, Master will teach us, don't speak bad words, don't indulge in talking to women. So that comes where? In social settings, right? But in forest, it's just you and the animals. So you choose freedom in that. But you have to have a strong mind to survive the forest. But the Buddha at one point, I remember saying, not to me, but in the sutras, that you go to live in the forest and it's better to die there than coming back to live in the society. It's I don't know, like it can be like misinterpreted too, that you come to the society with the intention, but what he meant by that is coming to the society to indulge in pleasures that could put you in danger for a long time in the samsara. But now you are in the forest, you are dealing with your own defilements, at least you die there with the little that you have achieved, which is good enough for you. That's what he said. What is that?
Is that next to your phone or something?
Yes.
Just put the receiver on the other side, or
No, I put it in the flight mode. Does that help?
just the
This thing on that side?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. It's interesting, the Buddha is so humble to say that, right? Of course, it's a known fact among all the monks at that time that so-and-so monk was living in so-and-so place, and they are praised for what they have achieved and how they conduct themselves. And then the Buddha says, so we were looking for what? We were here in this sutra, we were looking for kasinas, and we were looking for psychic abilities. Okay? You forgot why we came here. The Buddha's 5 qualities, real reasons for honoring the Buddha. But to die is not on account of these 5 qualities that my disciple revere, respect, esteem, honor me. And having honored and respected, they dwell in dependence. There are another 5 qualities. On account of these 5 qualities, my disciples revere and all that. Here thy my disciple esteem higher moral or moral virtue, thinking the recluse Gautama is morally virtuous, accomplished with the supreme aggregate of moral virtue. It is this higher moral virtue that my disciples esteem. That's very good. Furthermore, my disciples esteem knowledge and vision. So he teaches Dhamma based on direct knowledge, not without. Direct knowledge means he has experienced it directly, so he has the knowledge to teach. That's why when Ajahn Brahm, when he did a retreat to monks, I was his translator in Sri Lanka, and he said, monks, if you think of teaching without practice, you know you are in the wrong place. You first need to practice, and you should know what you are talking about. Otherwise, these students who are learning Dhamma from you will go beyond your practice, and when they ask questions, you will not know how to answer. And I think of that every now and then. But it's good to teach too, with little practice, because teaching helps you to sharpen your wisdom. Because when anybody who has been a teacher knows that when somebody asks a question, you answer and you think of like, I didn't know how I answered that, but that seems like the correct answer. So interesting. So it works both ways, but for specifically monks who are just preachers, not practitioners, I think they need to also practice. Then they know what they are talking about, right? The recluse Gautama teaches the Dhamma with wonders, not without wonders. Wonders means awakening wonders. It is this surpassing knowledge and vision that my disciples esteem. So, and higher wisdom. It is the recluse Gautama is wise, accomplished in the supreme aggregate of wisdom. It is impossible that he is unable to see an unarisen argument or to refute by reasonable means of the Dhamma an outside teaching that has arisen and teach the Dharma in all its wonder. So because they know that, and because Buddha kind of defeated everybody that came his way to argue with him. But he then said, argument is not the way to practice. Just don't argue just because you know so much Dhamma. That's not the point for argument. See it clearly yourself and just teach it and not defeat anybody with argument and knowledge. It's just knowledge. Because in Kalama Sutra, that's another sutra you need to practice. Kalama Sutra. Not practice, basically. It has lots of teachings on loving kindness, but it's this sutra. Have you read this before?
We talked about this last class.
You did? Yeah. So, shall I copy this to your Slacks group?
Yes.
Just in case. So, who's that? Man who uploaded this actually. Oh yeah. So you uploaded the Samyutta Nikaya.
Yeah.
And apparently it's this man who uploaded. Looks very Sri Lankan to me.
I don't know why.
Kalama Sutta. And I should also share you not Tamarin, Arya Pariyasan.
I can have Tamara true.
So this is Noble Search. Oh, I'm not sure if this is the right translation to share. Well, this guy's translation will be good. Kirtan's translation. Bless you. Kalama Sutta about Arya Pariyasan Sutta. This is where the Buddha says, see, don't go by reports, by legends, by traditions, by scripture, by logical conjecture. See, arguing and using logic. by inference, by analogies, by agreement through pondering views, by probability or by the thought that this contemplative is our teacher. So when you know for yourself that these qualities are unskillful, these qualities are blameworthy, these qualities are criticized by the wise, these qualities then when adapted and carried out lead to harm and to suffering, then you should abandon them. See, I can be going to a new place and teaching so many things, and then some other monk can go to a place, that same place, and teach, saying, oh, that what I taught is the correct teachings, and you should not just accept just because they are famous, just because they are teaching that way. So this is the Buddha saying. At one point he said, I say I'm Buddha, but just don't accept it just because I say it. He said, there have been past Buddhas, there will be future Buddhas, it's not just me. It's an amazing thing to say. Then Jesus did the same thing, I'm not sure. Something he did. So this is a sutra, although it's pre-thinking, that this sutra is famous for. So it's also about doing no evil and practicing loving kindness. If you read the whole thing, you find out it's a great sutra. See, the disciple of the Buddhas, his mind is free from hostility, free from ill will, undefiled and pure, acquires this, whatever. So please use that also for your readings. A noble search is here. So noble search, if we have the time we will go to that, but we will get back to what we have been doing here.
I forgot what that was. The sight poppers. I know.
Then he teaches 4 noble truths. Have you done this before? Did I write the noble truths on the board?
I was going to ask you, when the first noble truth is mentioned throughout the suttas, is there one sentence in Pali that's always repeated, or is it told different ways in Pali? When the first noble, just for example, the first noble truth, what
it's the same way it's taught. So these are called stock phrases. That means anybody who has studied this enough can take that piece and paste it in a sutra, and does no harm to it, because it's the same set of words used by the Buddha.
I know dukkha. So could you give us the whole set of words then?
Dukkha. So okay, I will do that. Dukkha. Okay. If you go to the first sermon of the Buddha, you find that. First. I was wondering whether to write the short form or the long form. Interesting. We'll get the short form first. Dukkha Arya Satya. Arya Satya means noble truth. Dukkha, of suffering. And then Dukkha Samudaya. So arising of dukkha. Dukkha nirodha. Cessation of dukkha. Dukkha nirodha gamini patipada. Ariya Satya. Patipada means the path, Gamini leading to Dukkha Nirodha, cessation of dukkha.
Do you have photographic memory? Because you ask a lot of questions and write nothing down.
Yeah.
Gamini, like Gachati.
Oh, let's see that picture. Yeah, I listen to so many times. Thanks, by the way.
So this is this type of word that you find. It's interesting though, if we were to discuss the first sermon of the Buddha, there is something that needs to be understood. He wants to look at it in 12 ways in terms of what needs to be done and whether he has done that. When you do that, then it's a complete path. So we should keep that in our mind too, as the reading we need to do. So Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma. Setting the wheel of Dhamma in motion. I'm sharing this not because I will have an exam on these things, it's because I think you will read them at some point in your life.
Isn't that like the kind of the opposing version of the 12 links to dependent origination? Isn't there like it's the Dharma wheel instead of the samsaric wheel? I don't know, I guess we could read it.
Yeah, I was just wondering that about it.
So, see,
Is it pronounced Dhammacakkappavattana?
yes, well done. Did this answer your question?
Yeah. Maybe we could just list the 12 real quick, huh?
So, 10 months, as long as this, my 3 round and 12 permutation, knowledge and vision concerning these 4 noble truths. It's about 4 noble truths. And this is what I wanted to teach though, but we have to be done with what we are doing already before we jump to this.
Thank you.
And we'll keep that, and then this, and then Kalam, maybe. So, where were we? Here, right? So it's the 4 noble truths. Noble truth, that is suffering, the arising of suffering, the ending of suffering, the way leading to the ending of suffering. And then 4 focuses of mindfulness. That's also important for you. Kayanupassana, contemplating the body in the body. 4 inverse of knowledge. Erasing. So, contemplating the body, the first one, Kaya Anupassana has become Kaya Anupassana. Then That's number one, the four contemplation. These are the four ways you establish mindfulness according to the discourse of establishing mindfulness. Vedananupassana, that's that second one, contemplating feelings. Chittanupassana, contemplating on mind. Number four, Dhammanupassana. And you might wonder what's the difference between the two. Because here it says contemplating the mind in the mind, and then the next one is sometimes they translate as mind objects, in mind objects, instead of saying dharma. Okay? So,
And Nupassana is contemplating?
Anupassana means contemplating. And this is done in 6 ways. Not sure if I remember all of that. Yeah, I do. First one is breathing. That's one way to establish mindfulness. Then the 4 postures. What are the 4 main postures?
Sitting, standing,
Lying down and walking. And then all the postures, all the movements, I would say, or postures, whatever. Such as eating, talking, urinating, defecating, all of that. And then you have 32 parts of body and 4 elements and 9 stages of a body in decay. So I don't know.